never give in. Never, never, never.
Joined the Home Guard. Could you describe your work with the Home Guard?
Yeah, it's most interesting. This is the Home Guard came along, and there was a Admiral Sawbridge. I always remember so well. He was lived in Trigby Hall on my Trigby farm, and he was asked by the local Colonel Ben about joining the Home Guard. You see, and he said, "I don't agree with it, Colonel Ben." And old Colonel Ben says to him, "You know, we're not asking whether you'll agree to it, we're asking if you'll join." Admiral and a Colonel. Yeah. Get me back to myself, can you?
So when did you decide to join the Home Guard?
Well, directly it was formed. Then, of course, I lost a job. They took me, my brother was with it, and lots of our men, sort of ex-service men like me who knew a little about the army, you see. There's a lot of them, there's some of them still alive, thank God. This Home Guard, I remember so well because my younger brother took it over. Most of our men, like army I was saying, joined that should have done, you know, all good enough. And we used to do our work during the day, and we used to guard on night on national points. And so we done stuff. And then suddenly they took this squad troop of our local ones away from me and gave them over to my brother. He's about now. And I was sent off to Coles Hill, headquarters of the underground, you know, the
auxiliary unit.
Yes, I was sent off there, and I was sent to London first, and then I was sent there. And I used to go with some of my own men who were still alive, do training.
Could you describe this training?
Well, I remember this Coles Hill was a huge place. I think it belonged to the cooks. And we had barracks there where we lived in, and all underground were coal mines, or some mines, so we'd work underground, and we used to go through them different ways, and disguises they used to teach us, and we were marched through the different parts of this place.
And what other sort of training did you do?
Well, not actually to train you, to teach you, you know, it wasn't to get your muscles better, you used to do. You used to get, you know, learn your job, really.
What was the purpose of these auxiliary units? Could you explain it?
Yes. Very carefully we were trained. I had a squad on my farm at Mortby, and they were Nissen huts built underground with secret entries and filled with all the best munitions you can think of. And there's no doubt about that. And they never were used. We were never asked to fire a shot.
What was the purpose, though?
Well, Hitler was supposed to land on that east coast, and I had one squad at mine, I had one at Catfield, I had one at North Walsham, and they were buried, and our instructions were the Navy sent the team down to teach us how to live with one another underground for 10 days. That's what we were supposed to do after Hitler landed. And, you know, you get fed up with one another and teach us how to do that. And they sent another unit down to blow these holes and cover us up. I mean, look like that grass out there, the top of them. It was getting from a mile back. And we were laying there for 10 days, I believe it was all. And then that was when Hitler was supposed to be here. We don't come out, we hang in there, and then we come out and upset Hitler's communications. And then we were carefully taught that. I built some of these chaps at my house at Mortby.
How did you keep who was a member of the units and where the huts, the underground things, how did you keep it all secret?
Oh, we had special officers attached to a brigade head, war office, I suppose, and it was kept secret. These chaps were...
So the local people didn't sort of get to know who was...
Well, they weren't supposed to. I mean, we were supposed to manage with it. In fact, we had one fella that said if we were in danger of being given away by anyone, it was our own duty to use our outpost to shoot them. That was a very serious business.
Did people not notice when the huts were being put underground?
Oh, lots of them, not much. See, this was in a wood where mine was done, so it wasn't at South Walsham. And in Catfield it was underground with a tree. They came up and got out. Hollow oak tree. Marvellous thing. When they lost that girl here, murdered and lost a bicycle a year or two back, I rang up the police force and I said I think that would pay you to look into those places, and they never took the slightest notice of my letter. No, never bothered anymore.
So they're still there, these places?
Oh yes, and they're still explosive as far as I know.
What sort of equipment was kept in the huts?
Well, magnets that you could put on a railway line, explode when a train came along, was one I remember well, and all sorts of everything we wanted. However, it was a terrific lot of equipment. Was never used.
Can you remember any of the other equipment you had?
Well, revolvers of all sorts. Many rifles that were, when people in Yarmouth knew they had, if they knew they got a armament in the house and the enemy came, they'd be shot. They'd sent us no end of and which, of course, have been buried since, and they're still there, no doubt. And those explosives, they're still there, I suppose. They're in plenty of hide. I mean, there was plenty other squads beside mine. Mine only held this sort of case to Yarmouth, that coast, you know, round there. Case to Yarmouth, Winton. But the others, there were, 1,000. When we used to go to Cold Hill, I suppose there'd be 400 or 500 of us there each weekend when it was our turn to go. I used to take 5 of my local lads. My quartermaster still lives at Caister, Gilly Bowles, if you'd like to speak to him. Another one of my lads was Pop Tungett. He's OBE. He works for my brother now as a foreman.
How did you choose the people to form your squads? Were they chosen for you, or did you choose them?
No. We said which we wanted. You see, I used to go to my brother's and collar a good one or two off him. He didn't like it much, but I'd got the top. In the end, you see, I was turned out. I'd got the top choice when the time came. Well, I wondered what the devil was happening, you see, till I got this trip to town. And
so you didn't take any part in the normal Home Guard at all after this?
We might have paraded with them, but generally we didn't.
Did people not wonder why you dropped out of the Home Guard after being such a leader?
Well, they sort of some ideas, I suppose, of what we're doing, but we were sworn to secrecy, and that was that. And it always amazes me that you've never heard anything about it. Always amazes me.
When exactly were the auxiliary units stood down?
That letter tells you, doesn't it? You've seen that letter.
Can you remember what the letter said?
Yes. As the effect that the war is now easier or something of that sort, will you thank all your members and sign by the King and disband them? That's what it said. There's 2 or 3 there. You'll have to have them again.
Did you feel that you'd done a valuable service, although you hadn't actually been called on?
When the invasion was on, you see, of Europe, of course, we were all ready, stood to do what we could do, you see, and we were never called on. And they were never called on. I mean, a funny letter, that is.
Did you think you'd have been a formidable force, Harry, in the German communications?
Well, we were useful. I mean, we were all chaps or most of us, chaps who had done war service, you see. We were the elder ones, like me. So there was a good chance we could have helped. We'd only got to creep out in the darkness and upset the German communications, which they were supposed to invade and advance, and we'd got to come in behind there and cut their, after they'd been there 10 days, we'd got to come out and cut their communications. And they were carefully trained. I remember being terrified there once. We set some explosives to do a job, practice, you know, and they didn't go off. Now what do you do? Me and my old quartermaster, we didn't know what the hell to do. But he gilly bowled, he's still at Caister. If you do go that way at all, you have a word with Gilly Bold now. He lives in Caister. He was the local publican when I farmed. And Pop Tungit, he got the OBE for work for agriculture since the war. And so there's still one or two, and Wool Thornton, there might be several of them about, and still Sergeant I had at Catfield was I know him so well. He's gone now, of course, but he was a good chap.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Wharton.